cut. Welcome to the top cut. Welcome to the top cut. Welcome to the top cut. Top cut. Welcome to the top cut. Welcome to the top cut. Welcome to the top cut.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into today's episode of the Top Cut Yu-Gi-Oh! Podcast. My name is Sonny. I am your returning co-host. I am here with my co-host, Giant Skyhawk.
Oh, you left me by my lonesome. And now you're back.
I sure did. Both of those things are true. You know, I gotta say, I enjoy doing the podcast. I really do. But taking like 2 weeks off was really kind of sick.
And now you have to learn what a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh cards do.
Holy
Fun.
moly, I am so out of it. It's insane. I literally spent just basically the last month just doing other stuff, right? I was traveling for nationals and I was hanging out with people. And then I get back and it's like, okay, well now I'm sick, you know? And it's like, once I got over being sick, I immediately went on a cruise for a week, and all the traveling with the cruise. And then it's like, okay, well when I get home, I gotta get back in the workflow of actually, you know, getting back to my real job and then back to this. And it's like, oh, everything happening. It's so much. I need a nap.
Well, you can have a dirt nap after we read some Yu-Gi-Oh cards and we thank our sponsors.
Absolutely. I don't want to let you get too used to that. I'm gonna hold on to my job here for a little while. Seriously though, before I do get into thanking all of the sponsors, I do personally want to thank you, Skyhawk, on the air. I haven't had 2 weeks off from the podcast since we started it 2.5 years ago. And sometimes it is nice to get a little bit of time off to kind of decompress and unwind, because burnout is a real thing and you got to be very careful with it. So seriously, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you, like, just taking over and dominating this thing for like 2 weeks while I was gone.
I'm here to keep it alive so we can eventually thrive. I got the
well, it is wonderful to be back. I am enjoying this, and I am ready to go ahead and thank today's sponsors. So a huge thank you to, of course, all of our wonderful sponsors. Of course, I want to shout out Steelfox Games as well as ETB Games in Alexandria, Louisiana. Steelfox is my local is in Shreveport, and ETB is my local in Alexandria. Now, at ETB Games on MacArthur Drive in Alexandria, I will be hosting a case tournament there. It is the Top Cut Podcast case tournament. I am putting up the prizing and stuff like that. So be there if you are within a few hours drive of us on August 5th. Shop opens at 12. Sign-ups start as soon as the shop opens, and sign-ups will end right before 2 p.m. because the tournament's going to start at 2 p.m. sharp. We'll do Swiss, and then it'll cut to top 8. It'll be a Duelist Nexus case tournament. The entry is $25 a head. And please, if you are nearby, please come out. Please show up. Please show your support, because I really need to recoup my money for this case. So please, seriously, please.
Fair enough.
I'm really looking forward to it. This is my first time hosting a tournament, so I'm very excited. So.
As a side note here, for those of you who've been listening to the podcast for the last 2 weeks, it is nice for somebody to be talking about the sponsors who actually lives in the area the shops are from. I've been putting a quick little disclaimer at the end where I'm like, these are shops in Louisiana, which I have never been to, but I've heard they're fantastic. And Sonny can attest to how fantastic they both are.
I can attest to that. You should definitely come down and come check them out one day. So, with that said, of course, a huge thank you to all of our sponsors. Like I said, ETB Games and Steelfox Games. And, of course, we want to thank Gem Accessories, as well as, of course, we want to thank Dragon Shield. We have an affiliate link for Dragon Shield, and there's a discount code for Gem Accessories. So, be sure to check both of those out if you're going to
There's actually... let's see if you remembered.
Oh, and also be sure to check out our affiliate link and discount code for tier zero tier zero games.
Tier 0 games.
Tier zero games. Sorry, that was a month ago.
Our
That
code
was nearly
is
a month ago when that happened.
Our discount code is TopCut5, but you can also use the affiliate link in the description and have that apply as well.
Yes, and you get 5% off of your order. We also get a 5% kickback, so it helps us out. It helps you out. And also, they are based in the UK, so shipping can be kind of expensive if you don't live in the UK, but they do free international shipping on all orders over $50. So if you go in and you pre-order a bunch of new cards or even just one Revolution Synchron, I don't know what the actual prices are on their website at the moment, but they usually do a lot of pre-order stuff, so be sure to check them out. With Duelist Nexus coming out, you're going to need lots of new cards to stay competitive in the format. Be sure to check them out, and that'll just be in the description all the time.
I have bad news about that description. You'll be purchasing singles because Duelist Nexus will be officially released by the time that this episode comes out. It's available in OTS stores now, but singles, I believe the set legal date is this Friday when this episode goes out.
I don't even know that because I'm so out of it. So I also cannot name 5 cards in the set. So
I got some work to do. All right.
Yeah, I can name 2 cards and a bunch of there's stuff for these decks. That's it. Anyway, We'll get into that. Also, TTG player affiliate link if you want to do that. So, yeah. That said, let's get into today's episode because this intro is 6.5 minutes.
There's one group of people you forgot to thank.
Yeah, but we thank them at the end. Anyway, a huge thank you to all of our Patreons for their continued support of the podcast. If you want to become a Patreon, you can, of course, check out our Patreon link in the description down below for an extra episode every single week. I promise. I'm going to have this intro cut back down to 2 minutes by the time I get back into the flow. Oh, and also be sure to check out our Teespring store. Okay, I'm going to stop plugging stuff.
I'm right. Okay, we made it. If we missed anybody, you're plugged in the description.
Yeah. Something like that. Anyway. Okay. All right. So, a huge, exciting intro to the newest set, which is not DUNE. I baited you. It's actually not Duelist Nexus. It's Battles of Legend Chapter 1.
Well, I mean, Duelist Nexus is actually the newest set. This Battles of Legend Chapter 1 doesn't actually come out until the 22nd of February, 2024. So this isn't going to be out for...
That's a really long ways away, first off. Second off, this is the newest set announcement, not the newest set. So.
Yes, you got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Battles of Legend Chapter 1 is kind of a weird set, so I'll just give you a quick overview of the description. Battles of Legend Chapter 1 brings you an encore performance for many of the most popular cards from Light's Revenge, Relentless Revenge, Hero's Revenge, and Battles of Legend Armageddon, plus related cards from other past releases. Highlights of this massive set include the return of long-awaited monsters like number 90, Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord, which is a desperately needed reprint that is now not happening until February, so take of that what you will.
Well, yes, it is a massive necessary reprint. It's also not really that used, so...
Yep. So prices for the regular card have already gone down a lot, so even just the announcement is nice. And Chaos Emperor, the Dragon of Armageddon, also badly needed a reprint. Good to hear.
That one really needed it, yeah.
Here's a weird announcement. Another crack at the unearthly alien language version of number 39 Utopia. We don't have any details about this. Yeah, we have no details about this. My guess is it's in a different rarity. It'll either be in secret or ultra in different color names. So, my guess is that it's not like a Starlight thing. It's just a way to get the card in that language, the Astral language. But it's also kind of crazy. I'm all for it, but it's wild that they're doing stuff like this. Like we got the rarity collection announcement. We got this. Like I'm happy about it.
There's a couple of cards here. They say it's a big, massive set. Okay. There's some cards in here that are not reprints that I think could really kind of need a reprint, but in like a sneaky way. So I hit Battles of Legend Light's Revenge, first thing that I see is White Aura Whale.
Yep.
It's like just been a $10 card forever.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of the Giant Rexes here. Giant Rex did get a reprint. No, it's got 2 reprints now, but it's still, I think, like a $3 card. Right?
To be fair, if they give us, there is a secret slot. Secret rare Giant Rex would be kind of nice.
Well, that already exists, but fair enough. All right.
That's as a misprint.
Still exists. In the Relentless Revenge, I think is what it's called. Yeah, you've got things like Hexatrude and that like archetype with the Golden Castle of Stromberg stuff. That stuff is actually not I think some of them have like a bit of a price tag to them, like the Hexatrude specifically, maybe.
Yep.
Yeah. There are cards like we said, Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord has quite a little price tag on him too. But wow, I'm looking through this list and there's just
it's like the Legendary Collection ones, right? And this one it's like the other sets that come with dice, where it's like I don't think this is really marketed to TCG players. It seems like it's more of like a, hey, you can get some cards and some dice. Now there are I will say there's 6 possible dice, and the dice that they've listed as being a thing.
Lots of Vision Heroes that need reprints.
Yeah, I mean, Ferris and Increase could be in here as well, which would be nice. Those have a few reprints, but more would be good.
Yeah. Another Sarah reprint would be fine, I guess.
Yeah. The other thing, so the collectible dice, we know 3 of them. Cyber Dragon, Judgment Dragon, and Stratos.
That feels very much like there's going to be a lot of Edison reprints in this set.
Definitely possible. Something else interesting to note about this, if you know the legendary duelist like collection ones, you know that they do the red and the blue ultra rares. I think the green as well. The purple, yeah. So something that's strange. Something that's strange about the announcement for the for the packs is 6 ultra rares in different name colors. They didn't specify the colors, so we're probably getting the same ones, but they could be different. So that's a thing. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting. We'll see what's in here and how it goes.
So it's very notable. You know what this set does not contain? Quarter Century Secret Rares.
That is true.
This basically confirms that come the end of this year, the Quarter Century Secret Rare celebration for us is over. Versus Japan, where it started in January and it's ending late at the end of this year.
That is actually not the case. You may have missed this in the Duelist Nexus announcement. When they talked about Bond, I don't remember the name of the card. It's
Magicians
the
weird...
Magicians of Unity. Unity, yeah. So when they made that announcement, it's in 4 sets. So that confirms that we're getting Quarter Century Secret Rares all the way through those 4 sets. So our Quarter Century Secret Rare will end in. So we got Age of Overlord is the second set there. So we have 2 more core sets before the celebration is over for us.
One of them I think we already have.
Yeah, we've got like announcements, but not
we
that
already
much
have
to
the
go
name.
on. Yeah, we don't even have the one after that.
And
so.
We did just get a new announcement, like just now.
Oh, like literally just now?
Yeah. So a countdown has appeared on Konami's a countdown has appeared on Konami's website celebrating the 25th anniversary of the franchise. The countdown has a description explaining that it's the time left for the new information on the 25th anniversary celebration project. The date in question is August 6th, 1 p.m. Japanese time. In other words, during the second day of the World Championship, we're getting an enormous announcement. Which means
we got an announcement live on the...
At 10 o'clock that night, we're getting a major announcement during Worlds. So, at 10 o'clock Saturday night on the 5th, in my time zone.
Huh.
I think it would be 11 o'clock your time zone or 9 o'clock your time zone.
Well,
because
tune
you go
in
that way, you cross the international date line. Japan is 14 hours ahead of us.
Tune in 9 days and 23 hours, I guess. When have they ever done this? This has
never happened. They've never done this.
This is fascinating. Okay. Well, we literally don't have any other information about what this could be.
That is correct.
But okay. Well, I guess
anyway,
we'll leave that question open. So that's Battles of Legend Chapter 1. So I guess we from here we're just going to go over some of the important cards that have been revealed since Sonny has been gone that we haven't gotten the chance to talk about already. So
sure.
We talked about this a little bit. I'll pull up the first one and then you can do the second one. So
I want to do the first one.
You want to do the first one? That's the
yeah, because I have.
You're covering SP, right?
Yeah. No, actually, that's not what I was gonna do.
Oh, what were you gonna pull up?
I am very excited to announce the first non-binary monster here in Arius the Labyrinth Butler. This is clearly like a very pro, friendly with the community monster. It clearly.
I will say I saw a lot of people on Twitter who were very, very happy about a Labyrinth Butler, and that's about all. I'll leave that at.
Yeah, I mean, like this feels like a good thing, right? Like if that's they'll never say that's what it is, but that feels like what it is, and if it is what it is, it's a good thing, right? Like,
sure, I think it's a W. I think the design is cool. That's
agreed.
But the effect is more interesting if you want to give that a read.
Oh, I never read the effect, sure. Level 6 Dark Fiend effect monster, 1500 attack, 2500 defense. You can only see first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. This is coming from Age of Overlord, obviously. So this means Labyrinth gets support in like 6 months, I guess. Cool. You can only use first and second effects once per turn. During the main phase, quick effect. You can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard. From your hand, either special summon one Labyrinth monster or set one normal trap. It can be activated this turn. Okay, cool. So you can just like set whatever normal trap you have in your hand this turn and activate it. You can debury your opponent turn 0. Sick. 2. When your opponent activates a card or effect in response to the activation of a Labyrinth card or effect, except Arius the Labyrinth Butler, or of a normal trap card or effect, and this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card. Okay, cool. So like they summon themselves to the field if you respond to a trap or Labyrinth card, which is already good. And then it also can just let you activate a trap for free on your turn. It's like, oh, I didn't have enough space for my 5 trap cards.
Oh, it's not just on your turn. It says during the main phase.
I hate this card.
So what's interesting is I am actually unconvinced that this card is that great. So you're going to need to hear the argument from me. The effect is really strong, right? Like you read it on his face and it's like, oh, you can debury your opponent turn 1. You can fire off an IDP. You can do all sorts of stuff. The downside is that it's -2, like on its face, right? You have to not only open this card, or draw this card, but you also have to, if you're setting the normal trap, you have to go -2 in order to resolve that effect. Now, if it's something like D-Barrier, that's going to be worth it, but you have to hard draw this and D-Barrier. I think the better effect. I'm
convinced that you do.
I think the better effect of this card is that it can special summon a Labyrinth monster, because that lets you pull out some advantage. It lets you do lots of setup. It's something like if you have like a big lady, you can special it and like pop a card and then set up the rest of your stuff. I feel like this card is very minus, but it also has some really strong interactions. So I think
I don't think you need to open this and the trap. I think you need to open Ariana and a Pot of Prosperity.
No, so if you're doing this turn 0, then you have to open this and the trap.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
If you're going second, it's very minus to use.
But to that extent, so are the furniture pieces in a lot of the time. But they're so strong that you run them anyway, right?
Yeah. Those cards generate advantage, right? Like they bring themselves back, and the Welcome Lab normal trap cards also help generate advantage with the monsters and everything. So like if you're using this to activate a Welcome Lab or a big welcome on your opponent's turn, you could definitely ball out, right? But I think the kind of like the normal trap floodgate-ish usage is kind of wonky. Like the card is good, I just don't think it's crazy.
All I know is I'm already getting like war flashbacks of my opponents debarriering me and then setting the debarrier back after they use it. And
Well, they can do that anyway.
all I'm saying is I'm just going to spoil it. We have a patron name that's Bring Red Reboot back to 3. And brother, I'm with you. I stand with you. Bring Red Reboot back to 3. It's time. Either that or let's ban D-Barrier and E-Rad and Featherstorm and limit Big Welcome and maybe also Welcome. Let's also limit all the Eldritch cards while we're here. Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of the red part of Reboot, this next card has got red and blue on it for Pendulum Scales and for being a Link monster with red Link arrows. So here we've got Exceed the Pendulum, which seems to be...
But you don't mention the blue background of being a Link monster. Continue.
I literally said that.
I literally said
a Link...
red of... You said
I literally
red
said
for
a
the
Link monster
arrows.
with red arrows. Yes, and because it's a Link monster, it's implied that it has a blue background.
You didn't say it. You didn't say it. We have audio listeners that like
hold on. Are you no, we need to stay on this point for a second. Are you suggesting that someone who listens to this podcast, who knows what a Link monster is, would not know that it's blue?
I'll do you one better. I'm a co-host of this podcast, and I know what a Link monster is, and I didn't pick up that you were inferring the blue background.
And that's why you've been away for a month. Here we've got Exceed the Pendulum, Link 3 Light Spellcaster Effect Monster. I like Exceed as like it's more than Beyond. We're exceeding the Beyond. It's 2000 attack. Its arrows are all 3 at the bottom, very similar to Celine. Materials, 2+ monsters, including a Pendulum monster. You can only use the first and third effect of this card's name each once per turn. 1, if this card is Link summoned, you can add a face-up Pendulum monster from your extra deck to your hand. That's pretty good. 2.
And you can Link summon it because it's a Link monster, in case you hadn't caught that yet.
Right, it's correct. 2, gains 100 attack for each Pendulum monster card you control. And 3, during the main phase, if you have 2 cards in your Pendulum Zone, quick effect, you can special summon 1 Pendulum monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position with a level between the Pendulum Scales of the cards in your Pendulum Zone. I mean, it's another good Pendulum combo extension tool. It seems okay.
Anyway. I don't know. The card feels good, but is it that much better than Beyond the Pendulum or worse than Beyond the Pendulum? Is it just another way to say we're not giving you Electromite? Because that's how it feels.
Here's the other point too. Is like at the materials. Would you ever be making this over Celine? Like I'd say maybe in decks that aren't spellcaster focused on the pendulums, but I think this card, it is good that this card exists. There's definitely some very cool stuff you can do with it, but it is a little bit wonky because you're already pendulum summoning if you're using Beyond the Pendulum's effect, and then you're like adding one back to hand, a special. There's definitely some nonsense you can do with it, but I don't think it's like the thing that makes Pendulum a deck again.
I think the reasoning that you play this over Celine is because you play it, like you said, in decks like the Ignis deck, whatever it's called,
You're thinking,
the Draco Slayer.
Draco Slayer, yeah.
Yeah, the Draco, with the new support, right? So
Cool.
Is there a world where you have a Draco Slayer Dragon Link? Is that a thing?
Probably. Odd Eyes
cool.
Odd Eyes Revolution Dragon is the card that could probably bridge those gaps.
Yeah, Odd Eyes Revolution Dragon Link. Yeah.
Calling up Mike Thomas as we speak.
I will message him. Don't think I won't.
I believe.
Anyway, listen,
snag the next
me
card
and
on
him
the list?
had me and Mike had great conversations at Nats. Okay, we made friends.
as you do with everyone.
Yeah, I am good at making friends. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to switch into Top Gear with the next generation of the Tech Genus cards. So we have a bunch of new TG cards. Specifically, we're going to start with TG Rocket Salamander, which is just a cool name. It's a level 1, 1-for-1 target, fire, pyro, bonfire target. Effect monster. 600 attack, 600 defense. Oh, not a rekindling target. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. 1, you contribute 1 TG monster. Special summon 1 TG monster with a different original name from your deck. Huh. So it just tags into whatever it wants. But for good measure, it can also tag anything into whatever it wants. Cool. 2. If you control a machine TG monster, you can target 1 level 4 or lower TG monster in your graveyard, special summon it in defense position, but its effects are negated. Wow, this card just does everything.
That's what I was telling you before. These cards are crazy.
So, for context, before we started, Skyhawk definitely did. He was like, I'm just going to let you know, the TG cards are like actually really good. They're broken. I was like, yeah, sure. Like retro support is always quote unquote broken, right? No, this is insane.
I would like to point out this is the first card. We're not done. And also important to note that because there's a level 1 fire pyro, it's got synergy with like the new Diabell Star deck. So be ready for that. So the next card,
I would also like to point out that this card also yeah, I forgot. Go ahead.
I'm sure we'll get there. 1-for-1 target, Link Karibo. It's there. AGOV. So this is a retrain of TG Striker. It's TG Mighty Striker. It's a level 2 Earth Warrior Synchro Tuner effect monster. 1800 attack, 0 defense. It's a tuner and a non-tuner. You can only use the first and third effect each once per turn. 1. If this card is synchro summoned, you can add a TG spell trap from your deck to your hand. 2. Once per opponent's main phase, you can, quick effect, immediately after this effect resolves, synchro summon using monsters you control as material, including this card. 3. If this card is sent from the monster zone to the graveyard, you can send 1 TG card from your deck to the graveyard. Those are all...
So it's Formula Synchron, but better.
It's Formula Synchron that adds a spell trap and also is Foolish Burial.
So do you run this and Formula Synchron in the deck? That way you have the option, I guess?
I don't know how you have extra deck space.
Fair enough.
These cards. You got the next one?
Next we have TG Over Dragner. Level 5 Dark Dragon Synchro Effect Monster. 2100 attack, 1900 defense. Materials 1 tuner, 1 or more non-tuners. No. 1 tuner and 1 non-tuner.
Mm-hmm.
You can only use the first effect of this card's name once per turn. 1. If this card is synchro summoned, you can special summon any number of TG monsters from your graveyard in defense position. Also, you can special summon monsters for this turn except TG monsters. Yeah, and 2. If this card of the field is destroyed, draw 1 card. That's crazy.
It's very stupid. All right.
This is crazy. These cards are actually really good.
I told you that they have all the good effects on them.
So when me and Caleb used to read cards, we would read cards and just kind of be like, yeah, this could be good. We spent a lot of time saying, this could be good. Do you know the last deck or the last archetype or the last support cards that I read that were just like generic or just like not generic cards? Like you read a generic card and you're like, okay, this is obviously a broken, like when we read Thrust, we're like, obviously this is broken. The last card that I remember reading where we got like a whole archetype full of cards that I said, this is really broken. This is immediately going to be good. The last one I remember reading and thinking that was Sprite. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, this is really good.
Mm-hmm. There's a whole pool of like super fascinating stuff too. It kind of waiting in the wings. Like the deck has a lot of like pieces, but it's never really had anything to do. The Link monster is crazy, but it's just never had a home. You'll have to, after we're done here, you'll have to go read the Link 3. That card is just ridiculous. Yeah, so the Link monster is crazy. So for those who haven't read it, Link 3 TG Trident Launcher. This came out in Savage Strike. Has no reprints, so if you want to play the TG deck, you'll have to go scanning for it. 2 effect monsters, including a TG tuner. All 3 arrows pointing
They're
down.
already $5, and it was a secret rare. What the heck?
Yep, it's whack. If this card
I
is
don't have this card. That's sad.
If this card is link summoned, you can special summon 3 TG monsters. 1 from your hand, 1 from your deck, and 1 from your graveyard. In defense position to your zones this card points to. Also, you cannot special summon
insane.
monsters for the rest of this turn except for TGs. Notably, rest of this turn. That's on a lot of the cards, so you can do stuff before. You can only use this effect of TG Trident Launcher once per turn. Your opponent cannot target TG monsters, synchro monsters this card points to with card effects. It's an absurd card. It's ridiculous. And that kind of flows in with the next synchro, which is TG Glaive Blaster. So this is a level 12 Earth Machine synchro. Interesting typing that. 4,000 attack, 4,000 defense. 1 tuner synchro monster plus 2 or more non-tuner synchro monsters. So it's a heavy investment, Quasar-like. Must be synchro summoned. Not must first be synchro summoned. Must be synchro summoned. 1. Quick effect. You can target 1 monster special summon from the extra deck. Banish it. You can use this effect a number of times per turn, up to the number of non-tuner synchro monsters used as synchro material for this card.
Wow.
Uh-huh. Once per turn, if a monster of monsters becomes banished face up, you can target one of them, special summon it to your field, ignoring its summoning conditions. So this card says, oh, you summoned a monster from the extra deck, banish it. Oh, also on a new chain, it's mine now.
That's insane.
It's a weird type of disruption, right? Because it requires your opponent to have special summon something from the extra deck. But like it's so stupid. Yeah, there's a lot of really nasty stuff you can do with this.
That is just wow. And think about this. Okay. Normal summon Moe, activate effect, reveal, summon token, summon Chi-Xiao 1 Moe 2, sure.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, well, if your opponent has this guy on the board, now you're put in a terrible situation because you cannot use your Chi-Xiao. Because you can't use your Chi-Xiao to search. But here's the thing. If you use your Chi-Xiao to try to negate this guy, this isn't once per turn or even once per chain.
Yep. Not only that, if the link monster is pointing to this, you can't target it.
Good lord.
Yep. You wanna get the spell card?
I want to get all of these cards. Okay, TG Break Limiter. Normal spell card. You can only use one of the first and second effect of this card's name once per turn and only once that turn. 1. Discard 1 card, add 2 TG monsters with different names from your deck to your hand. Oh, you could just grab 2? 2. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 TG monster in your graveyard, shuffle it into the deck, or if you control a machine TG monster, you can add it to your hand instead? Huh?
Yeah. Now, notably, this is 1 effect per turn once that turn, so you can't do both in the same turn. But that's still incredible recovery, right?
Wow. Just wow.
Mm-hmm. So you sign up mining, it sucks. This card just gets to add 2. So the second one is a continuous spell card. We've got Tech Genius All Clear. You can only use the 3rd effect once per turn. So 1, TG monsters on the field all become machine monsters. So
sure.
that resolves most of the issues. 2, during your main phase, you can normal summon 1 TG monster in addition to your normal summoner set. You can only gain this effect once per turn. So it's also double summon. 2, during your main phase, you can destroy 1 TG monster in your hand or field, and if you do, add 1 TG monster with a different name from your deck or graveyard to your hand.
Wow. Wow.
I did like.
Almost
I don't,
like,
what,
and what's
I don't know what you want me
crazy
to
is
say
it's
about
almost like-
these cards.
It's almost like when you use that last effect to destroy 1 TG monster in your hand or field and search 1. It's almost like you could pop Mighty Striker up here, and when it's sent from the monsters into the graveyard, you add a TG from your you send a TG from your deck to grave. So you can use this card to pop Mighty Striker, then search one, and then Mighty Striker on a new chain to also bin one. Or you can hit over Dragner and search one, and then new chain, draw one also.
Yep.
That's crazy. Wow.
And there's one more card there if you
For
want to
good measure, they got a counter trap. TG close. Because they are about to close the door on this archetype. You know, when TG Striker got limited on the 2012 ban list, people couldn't figure out why, because the deck wasn't like that good. TG cards are going to get hit now, and people are like, yeah, obviously. Deck's too good. Makes sense now. All right. TG Close. Counter trap card. You can only use one of the first and second effect of this card once per turn, only once a turn. Oh, cool. It's only one of them. Cool. Surely they won't both be broken anyway. 1. When your opponent activates a spell, trap card, or monster effect, and you control a machine TG monster, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. Well, it's almost like they have a card that makes them all machines. 2. If a synchro monster or monsters becomes banished while this card is in your graveyard, you can set this card but banish it when it leaves the field. Sure. Feels like the bare minimum that the counter trap also resets itself. I mean, come on.
So I will say shout outs to Amai on Twitter. Amai is probably the number one Bruno stan out there. For those who don't know, Bruno is the character who played Tech Genius in 5Ds. This is your time. These cards are just absurd.
They are legitimately insane. That's crazy that they would even allow these cards to be printed. But I guess it is modern Yu-Gi-Oh, so still.
On that note, we got some other cards. So I guess I'll do the XZs and then we can do the link.
Okay.
So because the link probably has more discussion to it. So first off, we've got Stellar Nemesis T-Fawn Doomsday Star. So this is kind of the next Zeus-ish card. It's a rank 12 Dark Fiend Xyz, 2900 attack, 2900 defense, just slightly weaker than Zeus. Materials are 2 level 12 monsters, and you can also Xyz summon this card by using one monster you control with the highest attack during the turn, or the next turn after. Your opponent special summoned 2 or more monsters from the extra deck. Transfer its materials to this card. If summoned this way, you cannot normal or special summon other monsters for the rest of the turn. 1. Neither player can activate the effects of monsters with 3000 or more attack while you control this Xyz summon card. 2. Once per turn, you can detach one material from this card, return one monster to the hand. So, it's kind of like, it's a little bit weird. It's kind of you can normal summon something and then just like slap this down. If you do, you can't summon anything else, but it becomes skill drain for big monsters and you can bounce a card. So it's like, it locks you out of playing, but it also is an interesting tool for breaking boards. Like, if it punishes somebody for making a bunch of really big monsters. So, I don't know. It's an interesting tool. I don't know if it's crazy, but it's definitely something else that exists in the arsenal.
Yeah, this card on the surface to me screams that it'll be like an extra deck staple for a while in the same vein as Zeus. But that said, you can't normal or special summon other monsters for the rest of the turn.
Yep. So, I think this is a lot more balanced than Zeus is, to be honest. It punishes...
It is.
And I think it's cool. Like, it punishes a very specific type of gameplay, which they kind of want to discourage sometimes. And it also... it's like a tool to break boards, but you have to be playing something that, like, isn't going to be doing just the same thing afterwards. Like, they're like, it's like a Red Eyes Fusion type thing, right? You cannot do anything else. So it's I think it's actually a really interesting tool.
So here's the real question: will it be Typhon or will it be Typhon?
Ooh, TCG feels like they would do something like Typhon or like I think it might be TY-Fawn just because it's like AA-Zeus, right? So they'll probably stick to the 2 letters dash.
Yeah, but that's Typhon.
Yeah, so they'll probably do Typhon.
I mean, Zeus is named after Zeus, but Typhon is a monster also from Greek mythology, right? Typhon.
Yeah, so they'll probably do Typhon.
Titan.
TY-PHON.
Yes. So is that so again, is that Typhon or is that Typhon? Also, Typhon is a really funny play on the word hyphen, which it has in its name. So,
well, I guess we'll find out. TCG, it's up to you.
Truly. All right. Next, we have a new card called SP Little Knight. Link to Dark Warrior Link Effect Monster. Generic link to 1600 attack. Materials or links left, right, and materials are 2 effect monsters. A generic link to warrior effect monster. Surely this will have no implications or ramifications at all.
A Dark Warrior too.
You can, a Dark Warrior. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. 1. If this card is link summoned using a fusion, synchro, exceeds, and or link monster as material, you can target 1 card on the field or in the graveyard, banish it. Also, your opponent's monsters cannot attack directly this turn. I'm sorry. Also, your monsters cannot attack directly this turn. Okay. Sure. So if you summon it using an extra deck monster as material, you target 1 on the field or in the grave, banish it. Also, you're okay. 2. When your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, you can target 2 face-up monsters on the field, including at least 1 monster you control. Banish both until the end phase. So that second effect has some interesting implications. I know that earlier you had mentioned specifically, for example, let's say you use a Baron Negate, and then you go ahead and use this to banish Baron along with one of your opponent's monsters as an interruption, and then at the end of your turn, Baron comes back with its negate live again, which is interesting.
Because it's treated as a different copy of the card.
Correct.
Yeah, this card
also, it doesn't even need to be a different copy of the card. Baron says once while face up on the field.
Yep. Well, I mean, kind of. Yeah, it's a penguin.
That's what it says.
Yeah.
It says once while this card is face up on the field. That's what the Baron says.
Pengu. If this
it's not a soft once per turn.
No. So the reason if you want the etymology here, it's this card is why it refers to a different copy of the card. So when a card says this card, it's referring to that specific copy. So when it's a good example of this is Mechaba versus Miscellaneousaurus, where Mechaba says banish that card and this card says this card, it refers to the copy of the card. So it is like once while face up on the field is true, but it's because it's like this version, this copy of the card. Like with the Mechaba Misk interaction, I activate Misk effect from hand, Mechaba chains to negate. The Miscellaneousaurus is not banished because Mechaba attempts to banish the copy of the card that existed in the hand. Now that they're in different locations, they're treated as different copies of the card. Anyway, Judge.
Yeah, but Baron doesn't say this card. Baron just says once while face up on the field. It doesn't say once while this card is face up on the field.
Oh, I thought it said this card. Never mind.
No.
My ramble was absolutely for nothing.
That's why you were saying all that, and I was like, oh, wait, let me look up Baron, because it doesn't say this card. I was pretty sure it didn't.
Disregard. But anyway, this card is insane. This card basically just power creeps Unicorn. It's 2 disruptions instead of 1. It doesn't cost a discard. Easy to make this off of IP. Easy to end on this. Like it's decent removal going second. It restricts you from attacking directly, but if you're going to win the game anyway, that doesn't matter. And it not only is it a good going second tool, but it's a good going second tool where if you can't ODK, you can keep it on the board and it's a disruption. It brings itself back with arrows pointing side to side. So like say you make it an extra monster zone with an IP. If you use the effect to banish it, you bring it back to the main monster zone and you now have those arrows to work with for pendulum summons or for link summons. This card is just absurd.
Yep. Yep. This card is legitimately crazy.
Uh-huh. All right. And then
So-
I guess that leaves us with what? The 10 minutes to talk about either Duelist Nexus or the Jeff Jones Twitter thread.
It's coming out like with the day of the episode. We better talk about Duelist Nexus.
All right, let's do it. We can save stockholders for another day. So,
True.
For those who need some context, Sonny, I mean, you said earlier in the episode you don't know anything about the set.
I don't. I've read some of the cards now, so I can tell you some of the things in it. But
Mm-hmm.
without looking at any more of the cards, I knew exactly Crimson Dragon and Revolution Synchron are in the set. There's something Charmer related. There's some Pearly stuff. There's some is it Manadium or Manadium?
I say it Manadium because I think I like mana, right? So I think
Yeah.
mana, like mana Manadium, but you could probably say it anyway.
I've been saying Manadium, but I think I'm going to switch to Manadium because it sounds cooler. So there's some Manadium stuff and there's Infernoble stuff, and that's what I know.
Okay.
Oh, and Rescue Ace, I think.
Yes. Yeah, you are correct about that.
Okay.
Yep. So if you want a great, excellent video to watch, I'm going to plug it, as always, the Curry Bandits, a.k.a. Jaxel MS, has an everything you need to know about Duelist Nexus video. Not only is it very funny, it's actually super informative. So if you need a primer and you're like, oh my god, I haven't played in a month, go watch that video. It'll catch you up to speed.
Sounds like he just told me that directly. Okay.
But I'm going to give I'm telling that to everybody. But the biggest... So here are the important things. Obviously, Revolution Synchron is very important. Card is strong. It will see play in a lot of decks. Crimson Dragon is also a tool that a lot of decks might use to try to do High King Calamity locks. The main themes that you probably need to concern yourself with, the Mythical Beast Illusion monsters are in this deck. The Phantom Beast retrains.
Yep.
The engine itself has a lot of potential going into the future. While it's not super strong now, people have experimented with tier versions of the build and branded versions of the deck. It's going to see experimentation, so be aware of it. The Altergeist support is here, and that deck is now playable. They have a lot more interesting kind of link lines to go through. The Infernoble Knight stuff is here. Infernoble Knight, as a deck, I actually played against it at Sneak, against my good friend Jaffin Games. Shoutouts. He had to relearn the combos after a long time. I think that match would have gone a little differently if he'd had a little more time to study up. But it also doesn't help that I kaiju'd the Link one, game one going second. Dogoran for lethal. The Link one, you link it off with the big Synchro Charles guy, and it's a spell, and it's a spell trap negate with that equips a whole bunch of equip spells to itself and makes it really difficult to out. And the field spell specifically is just broken beyond belief. It's not once per turn, searches any of the Infernoble arms, and it also has an equip effect. Just absolutely silly.
I think there's a couple other cards that I think are worth noting. The Unchained stuff is in here.
Yes.
The Evolsar stuff.
Yeah. I will say, I've actually been learning Unchained. Shoutouts Coder. These cards are very good. This deck is definitely playable. It's going to hover around that like Vanquish Soul kind of reign, but
right.
These cards make the deck definitely worth playing.
As you said, there's the new Illusionist typing. Also worth noting, you have Arahime, the Manifested Makonko, which is the new Makonko ritual monster. As I said, Hita the Fire Channeler is here. Also, how you have E-Pearly Noir. And I think there's one more Pearly card in here, right?
Yep, the normal trap card. It is called a thing.
Indeed.
It's there is a normal trap.
Archetype is also here.
Those cards are not good.
Pearly Shirley.
More importantly, Evolsar Lars is a generic rank 6 hot red, but if you're playing dinosaurs or reptiles, it's 2 hot reds.
Pearly Shirley.
Pearly Shirley. Yep, that's the card. Few other cool things. The first Snake Eye card, actually, when this was revealed, we didn't know there was an archetype, but the Sinful Spoils of Subversion Snake Eye. I pulled 2 of these at Sneak. Very funny. The Rescue Ace stuff. Dark Corridor, a new normal spell secret rare for Dark World. They'll probably play it at 1, but it is a very powerful effect. Then they also, I believe it's Duelist. I believe it's called Duelist Genesis or something like that, or Synchro something. It's Generation Force, so it's a normal spell. Add any card with Synchro in the name.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Wait.
Oh.
Generation Force is the name of the card?
No, Generation Force is the name of the Xyz version of that card.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes a lot more sense.
Two more meaningful cards. The level 9 Runic Fusion. So that's Sleipnir, the Runic main. Yeah. And probably the card that I think people aren't talking about this as much, but I actually think this is the card with the most impact in the set. Is Vsauce Amritara. It searches anything that mentions Vsauce in it, so it's going to be a bridge for a lot of decks. It enables a lot of generic engines. It's basically a generic synchro. You have to use a light monster to make it, but that's about it. So I think this card is going to have huge impact. There's a bunch of like random one-off cards. There's a new Monarch. There's a newer Sarctic card. There's Fusion Armament is like kind of fusion deployment, but like from the graveyard. There's a Valence continuous trap card. There's also You're Finished, which is the continuous trap. It's like you activate 10 effects, you flip this, and you shuffle everything.
There's for sure relevant things in here. For example, the Granosaurus retrain. That's really important, and I'm glad that that's here. The Cuckoo Commanded to Croon, also here. Mm-hmm. That's a big one.
That's huge.
Click and Echo. Click and Echo is actually kind of crazy.
That card has implications.
That's a crazy common.
Super Heavy Samurai Security finally got the import. Shout outs to Going Strong.
So with that said, what do we think? We got a couple of minutes here. We just have like a minute or two. What do we think the format looks like after these cards come out? Well, just give me your top 3 decks after this set.
So what's weird is I don't think stuff changes all that much. I think Kashtira is still the best deck. I think what happens from here is Pearly, these new tools, push it to Nat's format. It was probably like the 3rd or 4th best deck. I think this pushes it to being second.
It was probably like the 5th best deck, and now it's like probably the 3rd.
I think that's right. I think this probably pushes it to slot number 3. I think Monadium goes from like a low tier 2, high tier 3 strategy to being like a high tier 2, low tier 1. And that's kind of it. Rescue Ace also puts itself as a solid tier 2 strategy. But it's weird that like there's some like movement kind of in the lower ranges. Altergeist and Infernoble are playable decks now. Unchained is playable now, but not a lot changes at the top level.
I think that Duelist Nexus has one really important thing happening that is getting almost no mention at all, but is actually one of the most relevant things to happen in a long time.
I'm listening.
Duelist Nexus is the first core booster set to be printed in Asian English since Raging Battle.
That actually is true. That is actually big.
And it's the first set ever printed in simplified Chinese.
I don't want to make a hugely big deal about this because I think there's lots of reasons this might be happening. There are some very specific markets in Asia that are being pushed out here. I think the Philippines is a big one where Asian English is the language that makes the most sense to print the cards in.
Sure.
But there's a little tiny part of my brain that says maybe we might be getting format unification sometime in the future.
My thing is, it doesn't make much sense if they're printing the cards in English for us to not be able to use OCG cards here once they're legal, at the very least. So
we can hope.
That's just me. All right. With that said, let's go ahead and thank all of our wonderful patrons for their support. So a huge thank you to Bring Red Reboot back to 3. Told you it would be there. Kane Martin, Zyphorus, Big Stinky, Blue Eyes is best, Copium. Broken Board 13, control decks do not exist anymore. False, although I wish it was true. Ding Dongs, Hostess of the Yang Zang. Actually, I take that back. I like the Runic Engine a lot. Oh, actually. Do you remember when Heavy Storm was legal? Pepperidge Farm remembers that card could come back right now and be fine. Earth Machine best deck. Has anyone actually read Toy Vendor? HH Cyber. I used to play Rogue, but then my mom got a job. Is Canada Nickelback? John Leo, Mountain Man, Oatmeal Spaghetti, Owen Alvarado, Pistol RX, Silver Hope. There's one rule and only one. Always read MISC. Understanding and reading are two different things. Virtually Savior's World, Aaron Gardner, Alexander Chan, Asami, Ashlish Chaps, Atsuyo Simpa the Silver Castle, Blackwing Silver in the Ascendant is the best Floodgate box wine. Co-Link D's nuts. Come on and get your game on. Duty Booty, Dragon Maidenless Behavior. I'm about to Rika Glimmer, cheer your Costies, plant nuts in your mouth. Neshi, Old Man Red, pin code 143. Sakitama, Arizama, Nikitama, Cam, Obama, slaking it up. Thank you all so much for your continued support of the podcast. Again, if you want to get your name read off, go ahead and check out our Patreon. Everybody in the $1 and up tier gets their names read off, and everybody in the $5 and up tier gets an extra episode every week, and on up from there. Okay, so again, a huge thank you to all of you for your continued support of the podcast. It's glad to be back, I'm glad to be back. It's good to be back, and until next time, of course, thank you everyone, and have a great weekend. We'll give you the Yu-Gi-Oh update in the next episode. True. It was update jammer. It was the card I have. Yeah.